I'm Paolo Chikamco. I have the honor of being your moderator for this panel. Today, I will introduce my three panelists here. I'll do guys first because it's in Tagalog and I have to brace myself. Si Edgar Calabia Samar ay nagtuturo ng panitikan at malikhayang pagsusulat sa Ateneo de Manila University at isang premyadong manunulat. Nagwagi na ang kanyang mga akda sa Palaka, PBBY sa Langga Writers Prize, Gantimpalang Colyantes, Gawad Komisyon sa Tula, NCCA Writers Prize at National Book Awards. Kabilang sa mga aklat niya ay ang Janus Silang Series, Walong Diwata ng Pagkahulog, kasunod ng 909, Halos Isang Buhay, at Pag-aabang sa Kundiman, Isang Tulang Buhay. Noong 2010, naging writer-in-residence siya sa International Writing Program ng University of Iowa. Next, our lone woman, unfortunately, is Tepai, Pascual, a fine arts graduate of UP Diliman, who has worked as an art director in a top ad agency and is now a storyboard artist for TV and movies. She is known for her National Book Award-nominated book, Mactan 1521. Her other works are Strings, which is found in the Lunatic Anthology, Noodle Boy, and Buhay Habang Buhay with Paolo Heras, which is now a full-length film. Why is it always Carl when it's formal? Carljoe ka?
Yeah.
Carl or Carljoe to his friends. Javier is the managing editor of Anino Comics, which has published critically acclaimed books like Pico, Light 66, Ang Subversibo, and 1201. His critical comics writing has been presented at international conferences and published in academic journals, and the collection Negotiating Culture Through Comics. He currently teaches creative writing at Ateneo de Manila University. Carl has written books of nonfiction, fiction, criticism, and poetry. His latest written work was the comic book adaptation of Egay Zamar's Si Janus Silang at Ang Tiyanak ng Tao. So hello everyone. So we're here to discuss three distinct topics: superheroes, myths, and legends. And one thing we noticed when we saw this list is that while myths and legends, you can see the clear relation, superheroes are kind of the odd one out. So before we start, I wanted to sort of find a common ground between these three topics. So I asked the panelists to give me three things to start off our panel today. So first is the most fun thing you can imagine doing. Second, give me a place or occasion where you became scared for no discernible reason. And third, give me something about everyday life that mystifies you. And just full disclosure, I've given them a lot of these questions ahead of time, so if you think this is cheating, it's not. Okay. All right. Who wants to go first? I did give this question to
yeah. I was thinking about it, like what the most fun thing would be, because there's this like future conversation within context. Because like I might have just said staying at home and watching TV is incredibly fun, but it's kind of a disappointing answer. So
very you.
Yeah, it is. But I think the most fun thing I can think of doing is, like, if it's just me, I would go to Thailand and spend a month training mixed martial arts and doing nothing else. That sounds fun to me. That's weird. Okay, and then the occasion where I feel like I was unnecessarily afraid is going to, every time I go to a party, I am suddenly overcome by this weird, like, insecurity that I do not belong at that party, and that it's, yeah. And then the last one is I'm blanking now. So what was that?
Something about everyday life that mystifies you. Aside from my question.
Yeah. What mystifies me is how we lose our manners when we are on the train.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
That was you?
I'm so
I'm
mannered.
doing that. I use my manners when I'm in the train.
It was you.
All along.
What was the question again?
Most fun thing you can imagine doing.
Most fun. Well, the most fun thing that I could be doing, or I should be doing, I should be doing, but not really. I really want to go to. I want to go to Japan, Italy, and where else? Japan and Italy, because I just want to eat. I want to try their food. Seriously.
Want to eat Mount Fuji?
Parang,
Sorry,
ano,
dude. I have such.
it's kind of like my dream job to be like one of those travel.
Bourdain.
Yeah, travel people. The TLC features. Nakakaingit eh.
I like the
They
share
travel
history.
all their life. And then they just eat and board and yeah.
Okay.
So for me yun. And of course doing comics, but I'm already doing it, so yeah. And
Fear.
fear.
Unreasonable fear.
There's this one time, not really one time, but I'm scared of our hallway in the house. Yeah, in the house. I seriously, there's something.
Why are you
there.
still there?
There's something there that's making me uncomfortable.
Leaves.
So I don't know what that thing is, but yeah.
Something about everyday life that mystifies you. Parang sisulat ko dito eh.
Sorry. I have a memory of a goldfish.
That's fine.
It's a pressure situation, man. We're just freaking out.
Mystifies me. I don't know. Maybe.
That's the mystery.
Yeah.
The mystery.
No,
of life.
actually, birth. I haven't.
We'll have a talk later. I will explain.
I haven't experienced it, but
Okay.
It's the one thing that mystifies me. Not just human baby birth, but like when your dog gives birth or when your cat gives birth, or it's
The mystery.
mystifying.
Okay.
Sorry, Paolo.
I can work with it.
I'll be speaking mostly in Filipino, so excuse
I want to
me.
be a ninja. I realize what the most fun thing is now.
Nung bata ako, kapag tinanong ako kung ano yung gusto kong gawin, gusto kong maging writer, illustrator sa comics. Laki ako sa Liwayway, Filipino Comics, Hiwaga Comics. Tapos kapag pumapasok ako, laging pinakamasaya sa akin, nagdo-drawing lang sa likod ng notebook. So laalala ko lagi ako napapagalitan kasi nauunang naubos yung likod kaysa dun sa una. Sa una, hanggang ngayon, ang pinakamasaya sa akin ay gumawa ng comics at hindi ko siya kayang gawin. So, naiingit ako lagi kong sinasabi yan kapag nakaka-encounter ko yung mga comics writer, illustrator na sinasabi ko na yun yung isang bagay na tingin ko gusto kong gawin at nag-enjoy akong gawin pero hindi ko kayang gawin. Kaya nga meron akong paniniwala na yung mga writers ay ito yung mga frustrated na artist. Parang pag dumating yung point na na-realize mo hindi ka marunong mag-drawing, susulat ka na lang. So, ngayon nagsusulat na lang ako. So, hindi masyadong masaya. Kasi noon naalala ko, favorite comics writer, illustrator ko, dahil lang yun yung nababasa ko during that time, si Rod Santiago. Kasi sa Liwayway, siya lang yung kathat guhit ni Rod Santiago. Most of the time, iba yung writer and illustrator dun sa Liwayway. So, parang sabi ko, gusto ko ganun. So, yun yung isang bagay na tingin ko, mag-enjoy pa rin ako kung gagawin ko ngayon. So, ngayon naman ginagawa ko siya pero hindi ko syempre ipapakita dun sa ibang tao. Yung occasion, yung occasion na na natatakot ako na unreasonable yung fear. Nagtuturo ako bilang profession at hindi ko na-imagine up until the time I graduated from college that I would be teaching. Kasi lagi ko sinasabi ito during talks na mahiyain ako at very introverted na tao. At totoo pa rin yun, hanggang ngayon, buong college time, di ba merong MBTI na test? Hindi ko alam kung alam nyo yun. Binibigay pa ba yun hanggang ngayon? At simula first year college hanggang fourth year college, INFJ ako. So hindi ko alam kung sine-self-fulfill ko na lang yung INFJ na category na yun. Pero yun. So hanggang ngayon, every time magtuturo ako ng banibagong SEM, scary sa akin humarap sa mga bagong estudyante. Ngayon, scared ako. Pagharap din. I mean, lalo na akong estudyante kasi isang buong SEM mong kasama tong mga to, parang oh my God, ano kayang gagawin sa akin ng mga to, kapag feeling ko kakainin nila ako ng buhay lagi, Tapos pag nakilala ko na sila, ay okay lang, pwede ko silang utu-utuin. Mga estudyante na to. So, but anyway, yun yung isang bagay na hanggang ngayon hindi ko pa rin siya na-overcome, yung fear na yon ng encounter sa malaking grupo ng tao, lalo pa nga kung medyo madalas ko silang makakasama. Tapos, yung isang bagay na nag-mystify sa akin hanggang ngayon, sa araw-araw, ay yung mga bata. Parang pag may kaharap akong bata ka ba talaga? Bata pa talaga to. Feeling ko any moment sasaksak ko. Bigyan mo lang sila ng something na deadly, pwedeng patayin ka nitong bata na to. So, yung pagiging unexpected ng mga gagawin ng mga bata na ito para sa akin, yun yung isang bagay na hindi ko... Yung unpredictability ng mga bata para sa akin. Dati kapag nag-lecture ako halimbawa at tinuturo ko halimbawa ang mga basic na components ng elements ng fiction like climax. So, pag tinuturo ko halimbawa, ginagamit ko dahil lang familiar yung lahat dun sa kwento ng Pagong at Matching. Pag sinasabi ko na yung climax doon, syempre nung nakita ni Matching si Pagong, tapos sinasabi niya, anong gusto mong gawin ko sa'yo? Parang tatagtarin pa kita ng pinong-pino, itatapon kita sa ilog. Lagi ko sinasabi na alam natin na climax yun kasi parang matter of life and death yun eh. Kung nagkamali ng sagot si Pagong doon, pwede siyang mamatay or pwede siyang mabuhay. Pero ang importante din, pagdating dun sa point na yun, dapat alam mo na as a reader kung sino yung bida at sino yung kontrabida. At usually, nag-root tayo para sa bida, di ba? So, pagdating sa time na yun, gusto natin na, ay, sana makaligtas si Pagong. Wala halos nagbabasa nun. Ang lang iniisip pagdating dun sa point na yun ay go Matching, patayin mo si Pagong. Pero ngayon, tingin ko may mga bata ng ganun. Pag binasa yun at dumating dun sa point na yun, gusto nila mapatay si Pagong. At yun yung isang bagay na na-amaze pa rin ako sa mga bata.
Hindi ko alam kung amazement yung tamang...
Or fear.
Halo-halo.
So the reason why I asked our panelists to answer those three particular questions is that there is, I believe, a common ground between the superhero stories, the superhero genre, and myths and legends. These are stories of power. Okay, power as fantasy is embodied in the superhero genre. Stuff that you would want to do for yourself. Fantasies of speed, of gluttony, of creation. These are the superhero stories, bread and butter. Power as fear is embodied in the creatures of mythology, the creatures of folklore. That which scares you when you can't figure out what in that particular place is scaring you. The stories come from there to explain why I am afraid. And power as justification, as an explanation of why the world is the way it is. The myths of origin. You find that when people could not explain particular phenomena in the world, like birth or children, there would be a story that comes out to sort of give a narrative to why things are the way they are. So these are stories of power, and that's what we'll be talking about today. Aside from that basic foundation, there are certain aspects that all of these stories seem to share. And I'd like to sort of conduct the panel by asking our panelists here questions about each of these aspects. One of the first is striking imagery, whether it be a myth or a legend or a superhero story. Myths and legends have some of the most vividly described imagery in the history of literature. That's one of the reasons they have such staying power. Superhero stories are primarily told to this day through comics, which is a primarily visual medium. And they rely on images for both their impact and their identity. So, on this aspect, imagery, I'd like to ask our panelists first, Are there any images from myths or legends that have made a lasting impression on you? A particular description of a hero or a monster or a scene? And how has this, and why is this has this been unforgettable for you? Let's start with Edgar.
Sa akin, madaling sagot kasi yung second novel ko, nagtuon ako dito. Yung Manananggal. Medyo fascinated talaga ako sa Manananggal sa atin dahil dun sa... Alam naman natin lahat yung Manananggal, di ba? Usapin niyo naman kami. Guys. Alam niyo yung Manananggal?
Baka maglabas ng kutsilyo yung mga yan.
Alam niyo yung Manananggal? Kung makayas naman kayo ngayon, para nakakita na kayo ng Manananggal. Alam natin yung Manananggal, di ba? Isang type ng aswang. Yung aswang being parang creature of the dark sa mythology natin na transformation, yung pangunahing, kumbaga, characteristic. At special yung transformation ng Manananggal. Kasi yung typical na aswang, yung transformation niya ay nagiging hayop, di ba? Malaking aso, malaking baboy, malaking uwak. Di ba? Lagi kong sinasabi sa ibang talks na hindi naman tumatalon yung wala namang mga aswang na nagiging malaking mangga, o sampadita, Pero merong naging bayabas, So, nagulat nga ako nung first time kong nabasa yung kwento na yun, naging bayabas yung aswang. Parang confused siya, bilang aswang. Pero nag-transform naman siya into a snake, nung i-approach na siya ng Pero anyway, yung Manananggal, yung fascinating para sa akin sa kanya, yun nga, the fact na yung transformation niya, parang madrama siya, di ba? Ang dami niya kailangang mangyari sa kanya. So, magta-transform siya, tutuan siya ng backpack, tapos mahahati pa yung katawan niya. Diba? At pag nahati yung katawan niya, merong lilipad pataas, tapos may iwan sa baba. Ang daming mga folkloric beliefs na nakapalibot dun sa mga Manananggal. Halimbawa, naniniwala tayo na hindi mo pwedeng galawin yung kalahati ng katawan. Otherwise, hindi na siya makakabalik. Kahit move mo lang siya, iba mo lang yung orientation niya, makikiusap siya sa'yo na pakibalik sa dati. Otherwise, hindi kaya balikan. Of course, alam na natin yung mas basic, na pag nilagyan mo ng asin, abo, hindi na talaga siya makakabalik kahit kailan. Diyan, hanggang sa dumating yung araw. Pero, meron din mga paniniwala kasi nagtataka tayo, bakit itong mga Manananggal na to, alam na nila na merong ganong danger, di ba? Bakit, kung ako yata yung Manananggal, magta-transform ako sa loob ng kwarto ko at iiwan ko sa tokador yung kalahati ng katawan ko, di ba? At ilalak ko para walang danger na mapuntahan ng ibang tao. Pero maliban dun sa presence ng buwan, alam din natin na sabi nila, hindi rin kayang makita yung kalahati ng katawan ng Manananggal ng isang typical na tao. Merong ganitong belief, Of course, merong iba na kayang makita. Sabi nila, unless meron kang sixth sense nga, na may third eye ka, hindi mo makikita, tingin mo lang sa kanya, parang kalahati ng puno ng saging din. So, kung nasa sagingan yan, akala mo puno ng saging lang din yung katawan na yan. So, may mga ganyan silang drama. Pero yun yung hindi ko makalimutan hanggang ngayon. At yun nga, ginamit ko siya sa nobela, bagaman hindi siya central dun sa nobela, parang kung paano din tinextualize yung Manananggal mula sa mga folk stories, hanggang sa comics, hanggang sa pelikula. Kaya may mga kwento ng isang angkan niya na na-involve sa iba't ibang pop culture deployments ng Manananggal sa history.
Tatagalog na rin ako. Hindi. Kasi, yung sa akin, may naglilin pa rin siya to history. Kasi, nung nagre-research ako sa Mactan 1521, about Lapu-Lapu. May nagsasabi din kasi na legendary person siya. Hindi siya tao lang. Hindi lang siya historical figure. Yung isang story doon tungkol kay Lapu-Lapu na ang nagsabi sa akin nito is taga Sulu. Taga Sulu siya. Yung si Lapu-Lapu is originally taga Sulu. Tapos, ang legend niya is, lumangoy siya from Sulu to Visayas, to Mactan. Tapos kaya siya tinawag na Lapu-Lapu kasi he was covered in scales. So, yun yung parang isang legend niya. Although, of course, since mas maraming facts na nagsasabi nga na Lapu-Lapu is a real datu of Mactan, and he's our first hero, and he was the one who defeated Magellan. Habang nagre-research ako about it, yung tumatak sa akin na legend, kasi parang parang may ganito palang may ganito palang side of his story. Kasi ang alam lang natin is datu siya, tapos dumating yung Spaniards, tapos natalo yung Spaniards, namatay si Magellan, tapos victory na. Yay! Ganun. So kaya nung nagre-research ako for this graphic novel for Mactan, it was really an eye-opener for me. Kasi there's so much history, there's so much richness sa history natin na hindi natin nauungkat. And I hope not just me but others will do comics or write about it, kasi ang sayang ang daming information, not just legends but also the actual facts.
I'll just talk about two specific images. I could go on and on about my favorite comic images, but I think these two will kind of discuss the breadth and the range that you can experience within a comic book. The first one is from the Jason Aaron Isaac Rubik run of Thor, and so I'll just describe it. It's Thor at the end of the universe. So Earth is dead. This is like thousands of years in the future, and all you get is old King Thor, not old and weathered and essentially just destroyed, and time has taken its toll on him, and Galactus shows up to eat Earth, and all you get of Galactus is this silhouette, this gigantic looming figure that is about to devour Earth, and you get the very small Thor, and if you read that run, one of the great things about it is just the massive scale at which the story operates. And then at the other end of that scale is the Brian Michael Bendis, Sarah Pichelli, I think, Miles Morales Spider-Man. And what you get is Miles Morales is not yet Spider-Man, and he goes with his parents to a big school conference room, and there's a lottery, and they're choosing who gets to go to like this special school for like the smarter kids, and then everybody else has to go to normal public school, and his number gets called, and his parents are really, really happy, and right before he can celebrate, it's just all silent paneling where he looks across the room and he looks at all of the disappointed parents and all of the disappointed kids, and then he feels like he doesn't deserve this. And so it's this very small, very real like checking of oneself in the world, right? And I think that range that draws me to the superhero genre, the capacity to tell all kinds of different stories and to tell it. The challenge as a writer to tell it without telling it, without writing it down and telling you what these characters are feeling, and then collaborating with somebody to produce those kinds of images. I only hope that I am capable of creating those kinds of things when I'm in comics.
The second aspect that I'd like to bring up that seems common across these stories of power is violence, or at least the threat of violence. Very few stories of power are peaceful stories. It's possible to tell a superhero story, for instance, where there is no fighting, but it stands out because usually there is fighting. Most of our epics, except for those indigenous communities like the Mangyans, who are inherent or who have based theirs around have a different focus. Most of our older stories are concerned with violence. Maybe it's ritualized violence, and in some cases it's just bloodbaths that would make, that you couldn't make into a movie, whatever rating there is. And even if you're talking about the stories of folklore creatures, even if nothing actually happens to whoever runs afoul of the tikbalang or the manananggal, there's always that threat that something will happen, and that's what drives the story forward. So violence is part of these stories. And I'd like to ask the panelists a few questions here about violence in these kinds of stories. What do you think is the role of violence or its threat in these kinds of stories, and why is it something that is so appealing in terms of making these kinds of stories endure and last and be popular? So, sabi Tepai.
For me, kasi it creates chaos. It creates chaos. It creates problems. Violence creates the intense feeling. Kahit na hindi siya epic battle, kahit hindi siya kahit between two people lang siya, nagsasaksakan silang dalawa. There is always a reason why there is violence, and that reason is the one that we are, as audience and as readers, I think, is waiting for the answer. Kasi you always start with the problem, or at least the character has a goal, right? The main character has a goal, and then of course the end part is the main character should get his goal, diba? And then the middle part, bahala ka na. Pero kung
Middle part violence.
Violence talaga yung middle part, diba? Gusto ko siyang saksakin. So, yung middle part, yun yung goal niya. So, yung middle part, yung paano niya sasaksakin yung tao. But, yun. Kasi, of course, it adds intensity to the story depending on what kind of violence na ilalagay mo doon. Is it gory? Is it gory? Is it bloody? Or is it just plain poisoning? But it's still, diba? So,
just, plain poisoning.
yeah. But, violence.
Nothing to see here.
But, silent but deadly nga, diba? So, yeah. Yun, I think, yeah.
Tingin ko yung charm ng violence sa mga narrative ay nakarest dun sa isa, kasi yung violence ay isa sa mga entry points sa realm ng imagination. Ilan sa inyo ang may napatay ng tao sa totoong buhay? Ilan sa inyo ang may napatay ng tao sa isip nyo? Diba? So,
guys.
So, entry point siya sa siguro ang dami na nating sinaksak, ang dami na nating sinakal, na hindi natin gagawin sa realidad, di ba? I mean, sana hindi natin gagawin sa realidad. So, yun yung ano. Pero kagaya sinabi ko, isa lang siyang entry point ng sa realm ng imagination. Pero isang powerful na entry point, at yung hindi natin usually or typically nakikita, sadly nakikita na rin nga natin itong mga ito, pero yung hindi natin typically nakikita sa reality na capacity ng tao na mag-inflict ng harm sa iba, nagkakaroon ng opportunity para doon sa mga kwento. Kaya siguro paborito natin yung mga ganung types ng adventure stories, o laging merong mga malalaking war sa mga epics natin. Gusto nating makita yung hindi lang yung skills at yung capacities ng heroes, kundi kung paano rin kung paano nagma-manifest yung abilities na ito sa context ng pag-inflict ng violence sa isa't isa. So sa tingin ko yun yung charm, kasi hindi natin laging kayang gawin yun. At gusto nating makita yung extent o isa sa mga, kumbaga, exhibition ng imagination, yung display ng violence sa narrative na. Kaya siguro, halimbawa, mabenta sa atin yung Game of Thrones, o kasi parang, ano pa bang pwede nilang gawin? Meron ka lang katawan ng tao, halimbawa mga tao lang yung characters mo dyan, meron ka lang katawan ng tao, paano mo pwedeng saktan itong katawan ng tao na ito? At katawan pa lang yung pinag-usapan natin. Of course, kapag pumunta ka sa ibang types ng kwento, pwede mong saktan yung iba, kalooban, o spirit, o ano man. Pero yung physical na pain lang, yung infliction lang ng physical pain, challenging yun sa imagination. Pero, yun nga, sadly, meron din, of course, tayong mga accounts sa history na, kumbaga, china-challenge din yung limits ng imagination natin, di ba?
I think I have a lot to say about violence because I kind of think about it a lot.
It's a train.
Yeah, because
MMA.
yeah, exactly. Because the very few of us have ever been in a real fight. Very few of us have ever had to give or take a punch. Most people think in a situation they could probably punch somebody. Most people will break their hand when they do it. So we have this imagined sense of what violence is like, which is largely created by the kind of media that we consume. So we watch pro wrestling and we think, oh, that might be how things would go down, maybe, and it's absolutely not. And we watch dramatized fighting in movies where everything is choreographed and beautiful and all that, but fighting is really messy and it's really ugly. And so I train regularly, so I spend a lot of time trying to throw someone, or someone's trying to throw me and I'm trying to stop them, or I'm trying to choke somebody and then they're trying to grab my arm and break it. And so this regular exposure to violence, and I had to question when I began this, like, it's a journey that I'm going to write a book about. When I began this, I had to ask myself, why? Like, what is the appeal of violence in these situations? Why is it like not just because if you come from a liberal background and then you take up an arts degree and then everybody just tells you that violence is wrong and it's barbaric and all this stuff, but then you come to understand that ritualized violence is a part of almost all societies, and that's why we have ritualized violence in the form of, say, boxing and even like in our sports. So sports are just a form of formalized, ritualized violence. And why is it appealing? Because it's objective. There is a clear ending to it, and I think that builds into why violence is used in narratives, because it's an objective parameter of who has won and who has lost. Obviously, in more intricate narratives, even at the end of violence, and there's a side of people who survive and a side of people who die, and there are larger questions. But in the immediate, when someone is trying to choke you, and then you tap, you have lost, and that's it. And so when we look at a superhero battle, right, then we see that enacted like in a grand scale where this violence comes to represent many things about these characters. I see violence as an opportunity, one, to explore human nature. Two, I see violence as an opportunity to build character, because how you fight is what you really are. It's kind of like the only way that you will understand who you are as a person is when you are in a situation of extreme stress, right? That's why you don't really know who your friends are until there's trouble, and then you figure out who runs away and who stays and who's willing to like rat you out, all this stuff, and so seeing how someone fights reveals their character. So if any of you watch like Daredevil, stuff like that, where the fighting is attempting to show some level of realism, then you see that each character is defined by their fighting style, how they move. One of the great things about Daredevil is when he's really, really, really tired, he will revert into a boxing stance because that's what he grew up doing, and then he will do a fancy spinning kick because that's how he is. And so there's these little tells about character that we can get through the portrayal of violence. I now sound like a terrible person.
Yeah. I don't want to be next to you on the train anymore. The third aspect that we want to talk about here today is how, for all the fantasy, for all the supernatural elements that are found in these stories, they all have to be at some level grounded in reality. The stories about, usually stories about folklore creatures, folklore monsters, the mananagal, the kapre. There's always the power of these stories is they're usually told as this happened to someone you know, or this happened to a friend of a friend of a friend. So there's always that element of this could happen to anyone, even the listener. When you're talking about comics, while sometimes they're completely fanciful, most superhero stuff is grounded in the modern world, and there's always that attempt when they do reboots to sort of still ground them in a reality that is recognizable to the audience. For the origin myths, they're there to explain something that exists in the real world. Yung Alamat ng Pinya is about explaining why the pineapple looks like the way it does. So there is always that element of being grounded in reality. And this goes into how these stories all involve some level of suspension of disbelief by grounding things in that reality. So I want to ask our panelists here, all of whom are also creators aside from being readers and fans, how do you create in your works that suspension of disbelief? How do you go about, what strategies do you have? How important is it in your work? So, Carl.
For the superhero work that I'm doing, I'm kind of working on a major property right now, like a major superhero property that I have some limited capacity to talk about. But what I'm doing is, I really want to ground it in the Philippine context. So I'm building on a character who survives a massive typhoon and is moved to Manila as a result of that typhoon. Because there are many people who have been moved to Manila as a result of the natural disasters that have been occurring. And so I'm building on that, and I want my characters to be very realistic. So when we get so I feel like the current discourse on the superheroes always look at how cool those powers are, and that's kind of a 1990s discourse. And I want to build a discourse around this concept of what does this power mean in a country essentially where people feel so powerless, and how do you deal with possessing power and yet not being able to exercise that power in a way that will influence or will contribute to society, or will contribute to helping society. So it's still like, it's obviously like, it doesn't make sense that there is a superhero and then I'm going to write a real world thing. But I feel like a large part, or the larger contribution is the superhero narrative is just one means to examine real world issues. So to expect a superhero narrative to be realistic is kind of a fool's errand. But to build from reality and to build from real emotion, then it allows you to further explore those emotions. So, for example, I have a character who's 16, 17, 18. I don't know what you guys were doing at 16, 17, 18, or if you're still that old, but at 16, 17, 18, I was like drinking a lot and then talking to people about philosophy and the world. So I figure, why not have a character who does that? Why not have characters who are realistic, who are grounded in the way that people would actually act? So, because, like Tepai was saying that, these are legends, but they're based on an actual person. I'm figuring, why not make your characters real people? It's not a new thing, but the alter egos of a lot of Filipino superheroes have never been as fully explored as their costumed counterparts. So like the alter ego is just the origin, and then most of it is them in costume doing stuff. So I would like to think about superheroes outside of the costume and in a normal setting, and how they deal with the world in a normal setting.
I guess when we write stories about superheroes or normal people becoming superheroes, of course, as a normal person, that character has his own experiences, diba? And yung mga experiences na yun, not all of us, but some of us might have experienced the same thing. So, yung mga makakapagbasa ng story na yun, they are the ones who can relate to that superhero or that character. Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na attachment sa mga characters kasi we can relate to them, we can relate to their emotions, we can relate to their experiences. Kasi bilang superhero ngayon, I think ngayon bilang superhero hindi ka na hindi ka na masaya lang eh.
Yeah.
Or I'll save the world na hindi na eh. There's this injection of human emotion there because nangyayari naman talaga yun, and they're based on real people then, I guess. So, and I think it's a plus point then na people who read the story relates to the character kasi at least yun, mas may engage mo yung reader sa narrative mo, sa story mo, and engaging a reader to your narrative is an important thing kasi otherwise hindi niya tatapusin yung libro, parang ano to tapon na lang, diba? Ba't ko binili to? Ganun. So yeah, and that's why also in parang sinabi nga ni na katulad ng sa Game of Thrones kunwari, diba? Nung namatay si Ned Stark, lahat tayo umiyak. Spoiler! Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Kasi lahat tayo nagulat eh. I mean, kasi for example, Ned Stark, for example, he's a father. He's a lord, yes. I mean, he's a lord. He's a father of, ilang children? 7? 6. And he has a wife, he has a family, he has subjects, diba? And he is a made-up character, pero when we watch Game of Thrones, we believe that Westeros is real. Kasi affected na tayo sa mga nangyayari sa characters eh. Kasi of course everybody's leaning towards Ned Stark at first kasi parang siya yung bida, siya yung good, siya yung honorable. Yan. And then pagdating sa episode 9, wala na. So na tayo, what? After nung episode na yun, pag ganun, black na lang, it's credits, diba? Parang, what? Yun. So it's kind of like that na maganda nga na nag-i-inject tayo ng human qualities sa mga superheroes natin or heroes natin because yun nga, we wanted our readers and viewers to relate to them.
Mas ang anchor ko dun sa tanong ay yung fantastic creatures pa rin kaysa sa superheroes. Sa atin, madaling gamitin sa mga kwento yun eh kasi sa reality lang hindi tayo nagkakaisa ng point of view pagdating doon, di ba? Pag tinanong ko nga, kagaya pag sinabi ko ilan yung naniniwala sa manananggal, hindi unanimous yung yes or no sa tanong na yan. Pumunta ka sa isang lugar, ang dami pa ring mga, ilan sa inyo yung nagsasabi pa, nagtatabi puno pa? Gaganon ba kayo? Kahit sabihin mo na very rational ka na tao, hindi ka naniniwala dyan, pero pag pumunta ka sa isang lugar na may gagawin kang kababalaghan, nagtatabi po ka pa rin just in case. So, gusto natin merong mga ganung safety nets di ba? So, ibig sabihin, medyo talagang nasa loob natin yung paniniwala sa hindi kayang, kumbaga, i-verify ng instruments na available sa atin kagaya ng science. So yun, so pag ginamit mo yan, pag ginamit ko at ginagamit ko itong mga ito sa kwento, kung gaano ka complicated yung reception sa kanila sa reality, ganun din yung complication at conflicted na views pag nabasa natin sa kwento itong mga ito, parang totoo ba or hindi yan. Kaya nga lagi kong sinasabi na halimbawa dun sa 3 types ng creatures of the dark sa atin, at magpo-promote ako ng libro ko dun sa...
Good job.
Yun naman yung point nito. So yung isang daan at isang kagilagilalas na nilalang, halimbawa, may tatlong types ng creatures of the dark doon. At familiar ito sa atin, aswang, laman lupa, at halimaw. Yung laman lupa, hindi kasi natin nakikita. So kung merong laman lupa dito, unless may third eye tayo, hindi natin siya makikita. So invisible karamihan ng mga ito. Yung halimaw, kita natin at kita natin agad yung monstrosity sa kanila. Hindi classifiable dun sa itinuro sa ating mga file, yung mga ito. Pero ang pinakamapanganib ay yung mga aswang. Dahil sabi ko nga kanina, nagtatransform itong mga ito. So kung hindi natin nakikita ang laman lupa or yung monster o halimaw, kita natin agad yung monstrosity nila sa physical features ng mga ito. Kaya nga halimbawa, yung kagaya ni Valentina, na unang kalaban ni Dar, na kailangan niyang takluban yung ulo niya dahil hindi yun nagtatransform. Nandyan lagi yung ahas na ito sa ulo niya. Yung aswang, nagtatransform. Kaya lahat tayo ay suspect, di ba? Ayaw na nating tumingin ngayon sa mga katabi natin. Di ba? So, kung sure ka na hindi siya halimaw, hindi tayo sigurado kung hindi rin siya aswang. Di ba? So, yun yung... At madaling paglaruan itong mga ito kapag ipinasok na natin sa mga kwento. Pero syempre, may iba pang mga devices maliban sa paggamit ng mga fantastic na creatures na ito para mas i-complicate yung anchoring sa reality nung kwento. Halimbawa, pwede ito sa mga simpleng detalye lang. Nung sinulat ko halimbawa yung Janus Silang, yung first book, syempre may fantastic na element na doon kasi nga may tiyanak. Pero dahil gusto mo nga makarelate, o hindi mo makarelate, pero gusto mong parang totoo, ito, realistic ito dun sa readers, halimbawa, nung gumamit ako ng mga specific details like news reporting, sa halip na mag-imbento ng balita, TV Patrol talaga nandun. Nandun talaga si Doris Bigornia, na nagre-report, hindi ko at well, pwede ko namang gamitin yata. Yata. Hindi. Naging issue din kasi ito kasi may isang novel, of course, lalo na kung mga mas controversial like, naalala ko lagi itong binabanggit naman, so pwede ko sigurong sabihin, binabanggit ni Vim Yapan, yung first novel niya na Ang Sandali ng Mga Mata. Set in Bicol ito at merong belief sa kanila na yung ina, yung Peña Francia, ay hindi na talaga yun, at ninakaw ng mga Marcos, at ginamit niya talaga yung pangalan ni Imelda doon. So, parang yung reaction ng publisher nung una ay, gagamitin pa natin to? Or So, mga issues ito sa fiction writing, pero bilang writer, nagko-complicate yon nung levels ng reality, na gusto mong gawin, dyan sa kwento mo. Hindi natin alam, kasi wala pa namang, kumbaga, action. At least sa atin, wala tayong, kumbaga, actual na kaso, na inihabla yung novelist para sa use ng isang tao or bagay mula sa realidad dun sa fictional or fictive reality, ng kanyang akda. At, well, ayokong masampulan, pero tingnan yun sa'yo. Pero, I mean, yun yung isa sa mga ginagawa. Halimbawa din, dito sa Janus Silang series na ito, yung kahit mukhang simple siya na kwento tungkol sa isang teenager, tapos merong ganito, ako yung aking personal na taya dito sa series na ito. Kasi, well, nag-i-invest na rin lang ako ng time doon at hindi naman konting time ko yung kinakain ng pagsusulat nung mas malaki pa yung time na kinakain niya kaysa dun sa totoo kong trabaho na nagpapasweldo sa akin, na pagtuturo. So, kumakain siya ng time ko na pagsusulat. Kaya nung pag sinusulat ko yung series, ang personal na hope ko rin dito sa series na ito ay maging testament din siya noong parang generation na ito. Parang reflection siya ng kung ano yung Pinas ngayon. Kaya kahit halimbawa, yung na-mention kanina ni Carljoe, yung disaster, halimbawa, sa isang banda parang created, or siguro, kung dati parang yung imagination natin natin bilang mga magkakababayan ay dahil sa sabi ni Benedict Anderson, fiction, di ba? So, nabasa nila si Rizal, limitang nila, oy, magkakababayan tayo, kahit hindi natin nakita ang isa't isa, di ba? So, sa ngayon, siguro, isa sa mga, kumbaga, connections natin ay yung shared na tragedy, shared na experience ng sakuna Kaya halimbawa, sa book 1 nung Jano Silang, may Habagat, may Yolanda sa book 2, at yung book 3 na kapapasok na may mga taga-ano dito, may Ondoy doon. So, kahit sa maiging. So, parang gusto kong gamitin yon bilang isang parang constant. Ayoko namang magkaroon ng panibagong trahedya para meron ako magamit sa book 4 ng libro. Pero, yun yung gusto kong tingnan, kasi kung paano rin kinakathan nito yung mga takot natin bilang isang bayan, pero yung strength din, na meron tayo bilang isang bayan. Kahit nga, hindi talaga yun yung focus, kasi hindi naman tutungkol sa bagyo, hindi naman tutungkol dyan, pero part yun ng reality natin, at gusto ko na kahit may fantastic na elements dito sa nobela, ay yung isang batang Pinoy, yung isang teenager na nagbasa, alam niya na yung binabasa niya, despite the fantasy, ay Philippine reality. Parang yun yung gusto.
So the fourth aspect we want to talk about naman here is that all of these myths, legends, superhero stories, they also almost always include a pedagogical value. There's always a moral lesson to the story. For when you have the epics of old, usually yung mga heroes, they are perceived to be, or at least they should be, according to society, what the ideal man or woman is. When you're dealing with stories about folklore creatures or monsters, usually people who run afoul of them have violated a societal norm in one way or the other. And for superhero stories, even while they try to add levels of complexity, at their core, they're always going to be about the question of good and evil and heroism versus villainy. Even if they don't answer that question directly or in black and white, it's always at the forefront of these stories. So I'd like to ask our panelists today, how do you yourselves, when you create, do you try to inject your own particular moral stances into your stories? Do you do it all the time, sometimes, not at all? And if you do, like, what is the relation to you between your story as art and as a vehicle for these lessons? Like, how do you deal with trying, if you do try to inject them with some sort of moral value, how do you go about doing it?
So, in the scholarly definitions of what a superhero is, one of the major criteria is that superheroes have a pro-social mission that they have chosen. So to break that down much more simply, it's they have in a world where you could do anything, they choose to do good. That's become one of the defining characteristics of superheroes. I think, like, if you watch like Batman v Superman, stuff like that, that was one of the tripping points there, is that, like, if you had supreme power, why wouldn't you just do what you want? I think that's one of the questions that they attempt at. But the moral stance of the superhero is that it's the Spider-Man thing, where if I can save someone, I have a moral obligation to do that. And so that makes the superhero as a symbol simplistic, because then it limits the capacity, and then it becomes just a pedagogical thing. If you look at the history of superheroes and the history of American comics, where there's a crackdown on comic books, and comic books are made only for children, and therefore they should have a pedagogical value, then you see where this tradition is coming from. The problem is that it can get really boring, and the challenge for the writer is, how do I explore these things without it coming off as everything just needs to have a moral lesson? My own approach is that I want to question what is good, like using moral philosophy. So it's these questions of, like, and it's questions that can be asked because superheroes operate in a realm of such heightened challenges, right? So you could have a superhero situation that asks the basic, like, if there's a person on the tracks, I'm sorry. If there's a cart that's running down the tracks,
Train na
right?
naman.
Yeah, train na naman. If there's a cart that's running down the tracks and it's gonna hit some people, and you could save 4 people by pushing someone in front of it, then do you save those 4 people by pushing that person who would not have died otherwise to save them? Or are those 4 people fated to die and you should not interfere because that's their thing? Now, playing around with philosophical questions like that, like mining these kinds of questions and injecting them there, I think that's where the new value comes in. Because we don't really sit around talking about philosophy, and we don't really spend a lot of time thinking about moral philosophy, right? In fact, a lot of our moral stances are transmitted to us from like positions of authority, like religion or school or government or whatever, which creates us into a not exactly thinking populace, or a pretty gullible populace. And so one opportunity that you have in a superhero story is people think that they're simple, and so you can inject these kinds of questions and you can challenge people's thinking by telling those stories in that way. And so the questions say, so like, one idea that I'm playing around with is, if, for example, there's going to be a flood, right, and this flood is going to kill a bunch of people. So all you have to do, say in Metro Manila, is fly through the sewer with your superpowers and destroy all of the blockage. But the moment that you destroy all of that blockage, all that water is going to get released, and it is going to destroy like an informal settlers community. Do you have a moral obligation to do that? Right. And so there's that question of, if you are in a position of power, what is your moral obligation? And it's no longer whether something is good or bad, but seeing how morality has many possible definitions and many possible parameters to explore. I think that's what I'm interested in. So I just gave away a major plot point right now, but whatever.
We all know Ned Stark died.
Yeah, we all know Ned Stark died. So I mean, you started it. So.
I'm sorry. Then meron din tayong tinatawag, di ba, like, it's for the greater good, di ba? Meron pang mga ganun.
The greater
And
good.
I think it also depends on the society that we are in then, how we grew up culturally, and taking consideration our culture. For example, for us Filipinos, we are very protective of our family. Kung hindi man actual family, immediate family. So, meron nga tayong kasi gagawin ko lahat para sa pamilya ko. That's why we have OFWs, diba? So, it's not really big, I'm going out there for my country. No way. You really go out there because you need a job, because you need to feed your family. You want to make their lives comfortable. Nakuha ko to kay Anthony Bourdain. So, thank you.
It's a second Anthony Bourdain reference today.
Sabi ko kasi gusto mag-travel. But anyway,
So in your stories?
So in my story, for example, in Mactan, there are 2 different camps there. The Spaniards and the natives, di ba? Technically, wala naman sa kanilang evil eh. Kasi, hindi, kasi, yung camp ni Magellan, pinadala sila ng hari. Pinadala sila ng King of Spain to explore the new world, di ba? So, for them, it's not really evil, it's not bad. The goal is not bad, but how they did it is, that's what evil for the natives, kasi on their moral ground, mali yun.
Yeah.
That's wrong. Because why are you killing for example, why are you killing our babae lands? Ganyan, di ba? Kasi doon pa lang may difference na eh. The difference of belief. So, since that small difference can already create conflict. So, it doesn't mean na one is bad, one is good at the time, but depende kung ano yung perspective. So, in Mactan's case, the perspective is from the natives. So, ang lalabas talaga, villain talaga yung Spaniards. And they have to, kumbaga, their goal is, they need to survive. They need to preserve their culture. They need to preserve whatever they are accustomed to. Mga ganon. So, yeah.
Para sa akin, kung gusto mong, kumbaga, una, kaya siguro ako nagtuturo ng panitikan at nagsusulat din dahil yung panitikan para sa akin ang nagtuturo kung paano maging mapanuri at maging malikhain. At ikalawa, pinapakita rin sa akin ng panitikan na yung mga bagay ay komplikado. So, yun siguro yung pinakamahalaga para sa akin. Kaya, siguro, kung ako yung babasahin, tapos ang hahanapin sa akda ko ng nagbabasa ay moral lesson, siguro, madi-disappoint talaga ako. Kung yun yung hahanapin. Parang, umatag ka na lang ng misa. Mas mabilis pa. Marami-rami kang moral lesson siguro makukuha sa isang oras para makakapakyaw. Okay lang din naman yun, di ba? Pero, sa tingin ko, pinakamagandang pwedeng maibigay ng pagbabasa ng panitikan ay na, yun nga, maging, sa akin, turuan o hikayatin yung isipan na maging kritikal at maging malikain. Maging critical at maging creative. Parang, yun lang eh. Kasi yun din yung ginawa sa akin ng pagbabasa. Parang, tinuruan nga ako nito na pag-isipan pa yung mga bagay. At kung merong, kumbaga, sa tingin ko maaaring magawa dito sa mga bagay na ito, isalin ito sa mga malikaing gawain. Kaya nga rin ako nagsusulat, hindi lang na nagbabasa. Meron akong isang anecdote na laging binabanggit tungkol dun sa Llano Silang. Kasi first time ko, nung nagsulat ako ng Llano Silang, actually meron akong children's book, yun yung pangalahang libro ko, pero dahil nanalo lang yun ng prize, kaya na-publish. Ibig sabihin, hindi ko naman yung sinulat para i-publish talaga.
Nanalo lang siya. Okay,
nanalo. Laki kasi yung cash prize kaya ako sumanalo. Anyway, pero nun yun. Pero yung Llano Silang, yun yung first time ko na nagsulat na merong clear na, kumbaga at least, kahit loose pa rin siya, pero merong parang demographic in mind na audience. So kahit very loose pa rin pag sinabi natin na young adult or teenager na readers, medyo malawak pa rin siya. Pero first time ko yung nagsulat ng ganun. Tapos, nung tinanong ko yung Adarna, naalala ko, sabi ko sa kanila, meron ba akong hindi, ano yung kailangan kong, meron bang requirements? Parang yung inyaka interview. Ano yung requirements niyo para dito? Ang sinagot lang sa akin ni Annie Almario ng Adarna ay number of pages. Yun, that's like, okay, number of pages lang wala yung requirements. So parang sinabi yata nila sa akin noon ay mga roughly 120 to 150 pages during that time. Sabi ko, ay, kaya ko to, 1 month, 3 pages per day. So matatapos ko yung 120 pages kasi wala akong nagturo during that time. So sulat lang ako. Nung natapos ko yung first draft, pinasa ko sa kanila after a month. Pagbalik sa akin, meron silang mga papuri sa simula. Parang, nagustuhan namin ito dahil dito, blah, 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 blah. Pero, may na pero, yung una nilang pero, alam mo, nung in-invite ka namin magsulat, ang gusto sana namin, may masasabi kaming titles para sa mga high schools na nagtatanong. Pero nung nakita namin ang daming mura dito, mukhang mahihirapan yata kami. So, puro mura kasi. So, sabi ko sa kanila noon, gusto nyo ba bawasan ko ng mga tatlo? Kasi babawasan ko yung mura dyan. Pero parang nakakapit din ako sa sana hindi nila sabihin bawasan. At hindi naman nila pinabawasan sa akin. So sabi nila, hindi, okay lang. Sabi nila, tangina, okay lang. Ang awkward pag ako, hindi ako sanay magmura. Anyway, hindi nila sinabi, sabi nila, take nila bilang challenge yun, kung mahirapan sa schools, hindi mahirapan sa schools, na ibenta, pero naniniwala sila na kailangan din sa kwento. At yun yung ultimately ay point ko, pagdating dito, na kung magiging matapat ako sa isang bagay, sa proseso ng pagsusulat, magiging matapat ako dun sa kwento. Parang yun yung first na ko, parang, kumbaga, tatawagin man nating allegiance, sa story. Kung yung detalye ay matapat dun sa kwento, yun yung isusulat ko. Kapag ako mismo ay hindi convinced, parang para sa akin mismo ay parang artificial ito or phony itong detail na ito or hindi believable sa akin mismo, hindi ko gagawin. So kumbaga, kung may mura doon, kasi tingin ko yun yung believable doon, yun yung matapat dun sa story. Hindi rin ako magmumura dahil lang gusto ko magmura. Sa kasi hindi nga ako nagmumura. Promise, hindi talaga ako nagmumura sa totoong buhay. Buti pa si Janus nakapagmura na ng marami-rami sa buhay niya. So yun. So katapatan dun sa story. Yun yung kumbaga first na kasi sa tingin ko ma-recognize ng readers yun kung niloloko lang sila or nagpapanggap lang yung kwento or hindi.
So I think we could go on for a good long while, but we should probably get to the question and answers, otherwise we're never going to. But before we do, we just like to acknowledge the presence of National Artist for Literature, Virgilio Azalamaria. He is also the chairperson of the Commission sa Wikang Pilipino. He's over here. So we have time for a few questions. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists? If not, I can just go on and on. Come on down. Or you can shout it from there if you like, if you have a good, loud voice. Uplift consciousness of people about social violence in general.
So you're saying systemic violence?
Using stories.
To be sure. You can keep it short if you want, but if you want more, if you have a lot to say.
Well, if you're you mean like systemic violence, like economic and institutional violence. Well, the stuff I'm working on right now is all like I was saying, it's rooted in Philippine society. Don't want to give away too many of these plot points, but I mean, what better way to engage these questions than to throw a superhero at a copycat death squad? Who's the bad guy, right? You have like a death squad vigilante. So many people want to do this, right? And so I think the stories are the opportunity if the creators are willing to engage. The question is, how much engagement do we have? Like historically, and if you look at our tradition of literary fiction is the mundane. It's very upper middle class. When I speak about literary fiction, I'm speaking of like English literary fiction in English. So it's stuff that's like, it's very suburban. For Filipinos, it's very urbanite. So it's these concerns. So really, I think if we want to have stories like that, we need to have more creators from these experiences. Like my attempt is to, because I work in my day job is I work in development. So I'm kind of face to face with these issues every day. And so I can't help but inject these issues into the things that I write now, because that's what I confront every day. But that's one, like if you try to pitch that to TV, then they will reject you because people are already tired and they just want something fun. Trust me, I've pitched many times. And then, so do you have a readership? And then do you have creators who are willing to do it? Do you have creators that are conscious of their class privilege and the need to fight this systemic oppression? I wish I could answer more conclusively that there's a lot of stuff being produced there, but it's a long, hard process towards pagiging mulat. So, yeah, it's a follow-up, sure.
To give a more confident answer to the question, the problem with the issue about fantasies and liberalism in the Philippines, it seems that it's very centric. It's a compliment of the urban technology. Like, if there's Spider-Man, we have like a boy. If there's Wonder Woman, we have Florida. So why we should not create something like engaging rules that would embody a more Filipino that would cater for the culture of the entire player.
Okay, I'm sorry. I need to give the chance to somebody else. So maybe you can talk to them after if you like. But we only have very small amount of time left. So
I just want to sneak in the Filipino as
Wait.
a definition.
That's gonna take us forever. Okay. Does anybody else have another question?
How do you represent everybody?
You're raising your hand, right?
I wanted to ask how much creative liberty do you use in your works, in a sense that the essence of our Filipino folklores, our creatures are still there. Because when you write spec-fic, you have a liberty to be as creative or to tweak certain elements of creatures, or myths. But for some people who are don't have access to books about Philippine literature, mythology, how much creative liberty do you use so at least the essence is still there?
We could use the
Like
Edgar.
Si Edgar makakasagot yan.
Yung response ko dyan, yung response ko din dun sa kanina, no? Essentially, pag nagsusulat ay tinitingnan ko lang yung kwento mismo, yung binubuo ko, kung kwento man yan o kung nobela, ano ba yung kailangan dito? So halimbawa, kung gagamit man ako ng mga isa lang yung ano ko, isa lang yung iniisip ko halimbawa kapag gagamit ako ng mga fantastic na mula sa mga kwentong bayan natin, etc. Na kapag binasa mo halimbawa yung kwento ko or yung nobela ko, hindi mo kailangan ng encyclopedia sa labas nun. Ibig sabihin, may sense siya sa loob niya. Hindi mo kailangan ng ibang source. Ibig sabihin, kahit gumamit ako ng manananggal dyan, kahit hindi mo dapat alam kung ano yung manananggal, dapat may kwenta siya. Of course, merong added na value na alam natin. So, kasi may ini-invoke ka na personal na experiences para mag-make sense nito sa sarili mo. Kaya meron kang mga, kumbaga, kaya colored yung mga takot natin kapag nagbabasa tayo. Iba-iba yung nararamdaman natin. Kasi may iba kang encounters sa mga ito. Pero, sana, hindi ko of course alam kasi wala naman akong alam na reader nung nobela ko na hindi Filipino at walang prior na encounter sa mga ito. Pero at least yun yung hope ko na sana kahit hindi ito part ng reality ko sa labas, may sense siya sa loob ng nobela. At ang ano ko dito, ang batayan ko dito ay kapag nagbabasa tayo ng mga akda na talagang based sa isang secondary world, di ba? Na talagang created lahat yon, inimbento lahat nung writer yung mga creatures na nandyan, at tinatanggap natin yung mga yun kung believable siya dun sa daigdig na binubuo niya. So, ganun para sa akin. So, kumbaga, kung may baguhin man ako o may i-retain mula dun sa original, o mula dun sa sources niya sa mga folk stories sa atin, irrelevant na dapat yun pagdating dito sa kwento ko. Dahil dapat dun sa kwento ko, may sense siya sa loob ng kwento ko. Hindi pwedeng mag-rely ako sa kung ano lang yung alam na ng mga. Halimbawa, pag inisip ko, yung mga nakapagbasa ng bukwa ng Janus Silang, pag inisip mo dapat yung tiyanak doon, may tiyanak doon. Na kahit hindi mo alam yung tiyanak doon sa labas ng nobela, dapat may effect sa'yo yung tiyanak dito sa nobela na ito. Pero yun nga, hindi natin maaalis na dahil alam din natin yung tiyanak sa labas ng nobela, nakakadagdag yun. Ano yung kanina yung question tungkol dun sa suspension ng ano. So, wala akong iniisip na pwedeng pumigil or pwedeng maliban sa kwento mismo na binubuo mo. Kung ano yung needs ng stories, yun yung lagi yung may primacy para sa akin.
Okay, and with that, sadly, I have to bring the panel to a close. However, it's a 15-minute break after, so if any of the panelists want to remain, you can approach them and politely ask them to continue the discussion. But for now, I'd like to thank all of you for coming, and for our wonderful panelists, and I hope you all enjoy. Thank you.